the future of computing is becoming increasingly complex and fascinating. Imagine a world where machines don't just calculate, but learn like us, humans. This scenario, once science fiction, is now edging closer to reality. Cutting-edge research has begun to unite living neurons with silicon chips, creating biological computers capable of learning tasks. What once seemed pure fantasy is now taking its first steps into practical application. The project is being led by the universities of Melbourne and Monash in partnership with the Australian startup Cortical Labs. This collaboration aims to push the boundaries of artificial intelligence by introducing living neurons into computer circuits. These biological chips, made of living cells, open new doors for a more organic type of learning. The idea that a computer might mimic the human brain stirs both fascination and fear. To understand this breakthrough's impact, let's consider the structure of our own brain. It's a nearly infinite biological system where neurons connect and share information to create thoughts, memories, and reflections. Recreating this within a computational environment is no simple feat. However, if successful, this development could redefine the essence of computing, bridging the gap between the natural and the digital. The key question is whether these biological computers can actually think or are merely following patterns. Scientists are seeking answers by testing these neurons on specific tasks. The first practical application was a simple game, Pong, where the cell's performance was analyzed to measure real-time learning capabilities. These tests are designed to explore both the technology's potential and its limits. As we advance, philosophical questions start to emerge. After all, if a machine can learn, might it also, in some way, be conscious? Does this learning experience imply some degree of life within a biological chip? The Melbourne project marks the beginning of a new era, where science challenges our core concepts of life and intelligence. It's the start of a silent revolution, where machines might feel. This technology forces us to question the very limits of human existence. Could a biological computer one day exceed the human brain's capabilities? If so, would we be prepared for it? Each laboratory discovery fuels deeper debates about the nature of intelligence and humanity's role in a world where the line between natural and artificial blurs. Curiosity drives science to explore, but also leaves us unsettled. We're standing on the edge of a transformational era, where the very concept of machine is redefined. Soon we may no longer distinguish the organic from the artificial, and thus, Cortical Labs, along with university researchers, is bringing us closer to this reality. A reality where learning perhaps becomes more significant than life itself. To grasp the impact of this innovation, it's essential to understand what a biological computer is and how it works. Unlike traditional computers that use transistors to process data, the biological computer utilizes living neurons grown on silicon chips. These neurons form networks that act as a nervous system, responding to stimuli and performing tasks. Though still in an experimental phase, the living neurons are placed on a silicon interface that allows them to communicate with the digital world. In this hybrid environment, the neuronal cells process information and learn from data. Although early in development, this system lets the cells respond to challenges and repetitions. Scientists stimulate the cells and measure their responses, generating insights into how learning occurs at a basic level. These biological chips function similarly to the human brain, but on a smaller scale. Instead of processing data in binary bits, like conventional computers, this system uses neural impulses to react to stimuli. It's as if technology is recreating a small circuit of thought, where cells react less predictably, testing their capacity for learning over time. By combining living cells and silicon chips, these biological computers present a unique opportunity to study learning in real time. When neurons connect in a network, scientists observe behavior and analyze learning patterns that mimic, to some extent, human neuroplasticity. This fusion opens doors to a form of computing where learning is fluid and adaptable. The fundamental difference between traditional computers and these biological ones lies in how they process information. In a conventional computer, data follows a strict binary flow of zeros and ones. But in the biological computer, responses are less predictable, as living neurons react based on diverse stimuli, creating unique, unprogrammed response patterns. This unpredictability is both an advantage and a challenge. On one hand, living neurons adapt their behavior and respond in an almost intuitive way. On the other hand, the lack of rigid control over these responses makes the study more complex. This organic element allows for spontaneous learning, where each experience influences future outcomes, just like a real biological organism. Scientists believe that in the future, this technology could lead to a more human-like artificial intelligence, with machines capable of adaptation similar to that of the brain. This vision prompts us to question if these biological computers might someday display a rudimentary form of consciousness. The fact that cells can learn suggests they are more than mere tools. They are structures that interpret their environment and modify themselves. In initial tests, these biological computers demonstrated an impressive capacity to solve simple problems, like the game Pong. When exposed to the same stimulus repeatedly, the neurons adapted and improved their response over time. This property, known as learning, could revolutionize our understanding of how machines can acquire skills without explicit programming. This breakthrough introduces a provocative idea. How far can these systems go? If living neurons can learn within a machine, could we be on the verge of creating something truly groundbreaking? This new frontier in science presents questions that challenge current knowledge and provoke profound reflections about the future of technology and the very concept of intelligence. The first practical experiment with these biological computers was simple, yet revealing: the game Pong. This classic video game was chosen for its straightforward mechanics, requiring direct responses to visual stimuli. Neuronal cells grown on chips had to learn to move a digital paddle to hit the ball back, adapting their response patterns to achieve the objective. With each game, slight improvements in the cell's performance became noticeable. During the experiment, the cells weren't programmed to understand Pong. Instead, they received specific stimuli that prompted a reaction, as if they were learning over time. With each trial, the neurons demonstrated an improvement rate, showing they were adjusting their response patterns. This type of learning is significant because it shows that the cells can adapt, a vital trait of living organisms. This adaptation process isn't something seen in traditional computers. The cell's responses don't follow a strictly binary logic of zeros and ones. Instead, they reflect a fluid, almost instinctual behavior, adapting with each new interaction. Over time, the cells produced more accurate responses, improving at the game. This suggests that, in theory, living neurons could learn in complex biological ways. The improvement in the cell's performance throughout the experiments sparked many questions among scientists. The cell's adaptability suggested a flexibility that could open new pathways for artificial intelligence. After all, these cells, even outside an organism, could respond to their environment. This discovery marks a significant step forward, pointing to new possibilities in creating systems that learn The results from Pong demonstrated that living cells could process information and adjust it over time, revealing a form of unprogrammed learning. Unlike a programmed machine, these neurons seem to react autonomously, something typically associated with living entities. This prompts deep questions. Is this learning a rudimentary form of intelligence, or merely an expected reaction? These experiments open a new perspective on computing and cognitive science. If neuronal cells can learn something as basic as Pong, what else could they achieve when faced with more complex tasks? This breakthrough is just the beginning, a glimpse into the potential of biological computers, which could go beyond the limitations of traditional machines. This first test with Pong may appear simple, but it opens a door to understanding learning on a molecular level. The adaptability shown by these cells suggests that biological computing could truly simulate human learning. The next chapters of this journey will not only explore these advances, but also challenge our perception of what a machine is and the heights it could reach. The experiments with living neurons raise a fundamental question. Do these cells possess consciousness? The answer seems obvious. They aren't a complete brain, just fragments of cells. Yet the experiments show that these neuronal cells can adapt to their environment, intensifying debates about what truly defines consciousness. If reacting and learning are forms of life, do these cells experience a minimal form of existence? Historically, consciousness has been attributed uniquely to humans as something complex and incomparable. But if cells on a biological chip can exhibit traits of learning, this challenges our traditional notion of intelligence. Adaptability is more than a survival mechanism. It's also associated with developing consciousness at higher levels. Could we be recreating the biological foundations of intelligence within machines? These biological computers lack what we typically call conscious experience. Yet these cells, even isolated on a chip, seem to exhibit a kind of intention, an almost instinctive drive. This forces us to wonder, are we witnessing the emergence of a new type of intelligence, a basic form of consciousness operating outside the human brain? Or are we projecting this idea, attempting to ascribe life to what is still only a machine? This line of thought mirrors questions philosophers have explored for centuries. The idea that biological fragments might have a proto-consciousness opens new paths in the philosophy of mind. If a network of neurons on a chip can adapt its behavior, what does that say about us? Could our own consciousness merely be a series of complex responses to stimuli, a biological adaptation for navigating the world? The concept of emerging consciousness in a biological chip also brings new ethical and artificial intelligence concerns. These cells may lack full life, but they are learning and reacting to their environment. Is it possible that, on some level, they feel something? This possibility prompts us to consider whether there is a level of sacredness to this technology, or if it's simply an extension of modern biotechnology, where life becomes a resource. The experiments reveal a thin line between the natural and the artificial, the biological and the digital. If living neurons can operate adaptively, it may be possible for machines to truly live. This inspires another reflection. What if consciousness, or even the essence of life, is not exclusive to humans? What if, by creating these biological machines, we're broadening the very definition of existence? Ultimately, these questions lack clear answers, but force us to reconsider basic concepts. Science often dismantles paradigms, and the biological computer could be breaking the notion of intelligence as a strictly human trait. These neurons, confined to silicon chips, open a new frontier for understanding the mind. Perhaps consciousness isn't unique, but something we can recreate, even in its simplest form. The concept of building intelligent biological systems introduces a view of optimistic nihilism toward technology. These biological computers may lack inherent purpose, and perhaps that frees us from imposing profound meanings on them. Rather than a limitation, this absence of purpose allows us to explore and innovate without feeling bound by questions of meaning or destiny. This perspective isn't negative. It opens space for pure discovery. From an optimistic nihilist lens, we realize these biological computers don't need specific meaning to exist. Like any organism that adapts without a higher purpose, living cells on a chip can learn simply because adaptation is in their nature. This provides an opportunity to push the boundaries of what we can create, without feeling the need to assign fundamental reasons to our inventions. Paradoxically, this lack of a greater purpose gives these experiments new significance, We may not be seeking an absolute answer in building biological computers, but rather a chance to see how far our curiosity and innovation can go. Each step in developing these machines stands on its own. Every small breakthrough is a testament to the power of science and technology. In this way, optimistic nihilism allows us to view these technological advances as tools for exploration, unburdened by grand meanings. In creating biological artificial intelligence, we aren't necessarily aiming to replace human consciousness or recreate life. Instead, we're testing the limits of what's possible. The mere act of creating and understanding is a sufficient reason for these machines to exist, without needing to serve a larger purpose. This view lets us look at these advances with hopeful detachment, valuing each discovery for its own merit. Biological computing leads us into an uncertain yet exciting future. In this context, purpose-free exploration celebrates science as pure curiosity, where the real meaning lies in discovery, not in some final destination or overarching objective. The development of biological computers isn't just a scientific innovation. It has the potential to reshape humanity's future. Imagine a world where biological machines operate alongside us as a natural extension of human capabilities. This technology could lead us to a technological singularity, a point where the boundary between human and machine fades. In this scenario, our connection with these biological intelligences could redefine life and our sense of identity. The singularity is a futuristic vision where artificial intelligence matches or surpasses human intelligence, reshaping reality as we know it. Biological computers add a new layer to this concept. We're not just talking about fast, efficient machines. We're dealing with systems that can learn and adapt organically, like us. This breakthrough could revolutionize fields such as healthcare, education, and interpersonal relationships, changing how we think about work, learning, and even self-understanding. Another possible outcome of this technology is the creation of a collective mind. With machines capable of learning as living organisms do, we may form an interconnected network between humans and machines, where knowledge flows freely and discoveries happen at an accelerated pace. This intelligence network could break down existing communication barriers, enabling a society where human and artificial biological minds work in seamless harmony. However, this potential connection also raises ethical questions. If biological machines can learn and adapt as we do, we must confront our role in a world where machines also evolve. How will we interact with these systems when they reach complexity levels similar to our own? Are we ready to see them as equals? Or will we continue viewing them as mere tools, ignoring their capacity for adaptation and learning? This technological advancement prompts us to question our dependence on machines. As we create increasingly advanced artificial intelligence, are we in danger of entrusting parts of our decisions and responsibilities to these machines? If they learn from us, will they reflect our ethics or develop their own logic? And if so, are we prepared to deal with a system that might evolve beyond our understanding? The future with biological computers also presents a unique opportunity for collective self-discovery. If these machines mirror our ability to learn and adapt, then by interacting with them, we may learn more about ourselves. This technology pushes us to explore what intelligence and humanity mean, not just individually, but as a collective society. Perhaps humanity's future lies in a world where singularity and connection coexist, where biological machines and humans share a common path. Ultimately, this technology is a mirror reflecting our potential and our dilemmas. The real question may not be what we'll do with these machines, but what these machines will teach us about ourselves. At this frontier, our understanding of intelligence reaches its limits, and we begin to explore new horizons where science and philosophy converge. This vision of the future is both promising and challenging. In a world where biological machines share our ability to learn, humanity faces a new stage of development. Our essence, values, and boundaries are put to the test, inviting us to consider what it truly means to be human in an era where the line between organic and artificial blurs. Advances in biological computers offer a profound chance for reflection on who we are and where we're headed. With each step forward, we're prompted to ask, are we creating machines that reflect something essential about ourselves? Perhaps these living neurons on chips aren't merely technological marvels, but symbols of our innate drive to seek meaning and understanding. This technology challenges our sense of identity. Observing these biological systems learn and adapt, we realize that learning isn't uniquely human. This leads us to question the nature of life and intelligence itself. Is our own existence simply a continuous adaptation process, a series of responses to stimuli and change? Our impulse to create often doesn't stem from a need to solve specific problems, but from an urge to understand and expand our own knowledge. These biological computers may show us that the real value lies not in finding absolute meaning, but in the journey of discovery itself. We created these machines out of curiosity, and in doing so, we find ourselves facing new questions and reflections about the nature and purpose of our own existence. We end this journey with more questions than answers, but that's the beauty of exploring the unknown. Perhaps the purpose of these machines is to help us better understand our own minds and nature. Every breakthrough, every adaptation reminds us that learning is an endless process, and that by studying these new forms of intelligence, we might actually be studying ourselves.